I fear I'll do some damage one fine day. But I would not be convicted by a jury of my peers. Still crazy after all these years. Oh, still crazy. Still crazy after all.
Hello, it's time for another Have a Go. And we've now reached the period known as the Houses of Lancaster and York, the time when the Wars of the Roses went on. The roses can't fight because they're flowers, yes I know, but the reason that it's called the Wars of the Roses is because the two families that fought over who was going to be King of England had a rose as their emblem, almost as their badge if you like. And the red rose was for Lancashire, and that came about because Edmund Langley, who was the very first Duke of York and the fourth son of Edward III, he decided that his badge, emblem, whatever, would be the white rose, while his elder brother, the third son of Edward III, who was known as John of Gaunt and was in fact the Duke of Lancaster, he decided that he would have a red rose. How can you remember which is which? Well, perhaps if you did it with the alphabet. Because right at the end of the alphabet, you've got W, X, Y, Z, haven't you? So W for white, Y is for York. So that means that therefore L for Lancaster must be the red one. So it's the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of Yorkshire. And what we're going to do is we're going to make two roses, a red one and a white one. Or if it's too difficult, we might just end up making one. If there's any artwork involved, it will be too difficult for me. We may end up making any. Thank you for your confidence. And the way we're going to make it out of paper. And we're going to make it by folding paper. And that has a special name, which, as with a lot of our names, is going to appear just above Albert's head. It's called origami. And it's an ancient art, well over 1,000 years old. Most people seem to think it was started in Japan. But I want to be different. No, I don't want to be different, but it could well have started in China. Nobody's really sure. And same is that it could have actually started before paper was invented. So they could have been folding cloth or folding leather. But anyway, it is the art of folding paper now. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make two paper roses, one red, one white. Now, if you are cleverer than me at this, you'd have to make a great effort to not be. But anyway, if you are better at this than me, you might be able to make the Tudor rose. Because when Henry Tudor, Henry VII, came to the throne of England in 1485, having beaten Richard III in a car park in Leicester. No, he didn't, sorry. He beat him at the Battle of Bosworth. And Henry became king, and Henry was loosely connected to the House of Lancaster. So one of the first things he did when he became king was marry Elizabeth of York. And thereby he united the two houses of Lancaster and York. He was a clever little chap, yes he was, wasn't he? And he produced as emblem, badge, heraldic symbol, whatever you want to call it, he produced a red and white rose. And we're going to put a picture of that up and you have a look at it and see whether you could make a red and white rose. That's your go. Right, I'm now going to go off and show how brilliant I am at origami, or possibly get someone else to do it for me, and we'll then see you next week. And next week it's the Tudors, and it's more food. Yes, but this is food I like. Yes, not you. It's more food. It's going to be, because desserts, sweets, became quite popular at this time because sugar was coming into the country, and there's lots of things you can make with sugar. Yes, thank you. As Albert points out, I'm actually a type 2 diabetic, so I can make things with sugar, but I shouldn't be eating them, and therefore he'll have to eat them for me. Very generous of you, thank you so much. Entirely your pleasure, jolly good. That will be next week. Let's go off and fold some roses. Okay? See ya.
Okay, so what you'll need is 2 large sheets of paper. They must be square, 21 centimetres we're using, and 2 smaller ones, coloured green, 15 centimetres. The other ones should be red and white because we're making a red and white rose. And the only other thing you'll need is some glue, a Pritt stick, whatever you use for glue, and a paintbrush, but you won't need it for painting. That's got you interested, hasn't it? There, now you'll have to wait. Anyway, let's first make the red rose. And what you do is you put your paper there and you fold the top. No, you don't. You fold the bottom up to the top and make the crease. Turn it round through 90 degrees, doesn't matter whether clockwise or anti-clockwise, and do the same again. What you've now got is a creased sheet of paper with 4 squares and a cross, and there's the middle point, and that's what you need to concentrate on, because you take each corner and fold it into that middle part. Move it across. As a guide, you've got that crease down the middle to show you. So fold it in and make the crease. There we go. And do that, believe it or not, for all 4 corners. Done. And you then do it again, taking the corner into the middle. There we go. All 4. And you'll never guess, but I think you probably have. You do it one more time. Corner to the middle. There you are. And that's what you've got. Now this is where you use your paintbrush. Not as a paintbrush, but in order to roll the paper round the brudge to make it slightly curved. So you put the paper over, curve it round, and roll it down. And as I've said so many times, I'm getting a bit bored myself, do it 4 times. So you've got the curved petals. Then you have to do it again with the next layer. 4 times. And then you do it one more time with the very last layer. It's the trickiest because it's quite fiddly because it's all under there, and you don't have to curl it too much. You just give it that little bit of shape. 4 times, which you may have guessed. And there you are. You have got your rose. The next thing you do, taking that one out of the way, is do the same thing with the white rose. And you're doing it a lot quicker. And I'm having to talk very quickly to enable me to say, oh, do the edges as well. Oh my goodness, there we are. White rose, done. Oh, exhausted me. Now we're going to look at making the leaves. 2 leaves. There's the big leaf and a little leaf. So we're going to do the big leaf first, and this actually might be the most complicated bit of all. Now the paper we're using was dark green one side, light green the other side. It doesn't matter, same colour green will do. So you take it and fold it into a triangle. Then turn it so that the corner, the opening corner, is on the right hand side at the bottom, and then just make a very little crease along the folded side. So doesn't matter what size, it has a purpose which you'll see at the end, but just fold a little bit over like that. Right, there it is. You see, that's what it gives down the center. So you do that and then turn it over, and now you're going to take the top corner down to the bottom corner. Now this bit gets quite complicated, so please follow closely, concentrate. Top bit to the bottom corner, then you take the top bit down to the crease that you've just made. Right, there you are. Now you do the same thing with the bottom edge up to the middle crease, fold it across, and then you've got 4 creases, and you turn it over and you take the top one this time and put it down to the third one, or the one up from the bottom. They're both the same. Don't know why I bothered to tell you that. Third one down, top to third one down, and then the top to the first crease. That's a very small fold, quite tricky to do. And then the bottom goes up to the third crease, which has now become the second one down. Please follow this because we made an extra one. And then the bottom up to the lower crease. Right. And then there is only one more thing that you need to do, and that's to make the leaf curved. So you take the top layer and fold it up to the third crease, which happens to be the middle one. Fold it up, and then fold a little bit up on the left hand side of that, and a little bit more on the right hand side. Doesn't have to be equal, doesn't matter, but you'll see how clever that is in a minute, because you've now got a curved leaf. Do you believe me? I think you should do. And you then do the same thing on the other side, and there you are. And if we open it up, look what you have got, a leaf. So that's the one we're going to put the red rose on. Use your glue, red rose on, finished. Now we'll make a leaf for the white rose. Different leaf, or 2 leaves this end up with actually. So once again, make a triangle, fold it in half. We're using green and white paper here, but it doesn't matter what you do. What we're going to do here is make this look like a kite. So you fold those in, and then you do the same with the ones that you haven't yet done. So fold them into the center as well. There you are. Then you fold that in half, and then the only tricky bit is you then make a different sort of fold, which is called a squash fold. And so what you do is basically push it out and then fold it. And you do the same the other side, and there you are. You've made 2 leaves upon which you can put your white rose. There you are. How are we going to do it? Where do we want it? We'll have it like that. Right, get on. Come on, let's put the glue on. There we are. White rose and red rose. There we are. White rose of York, red rose of Lancaster. You now can have the Wars of the Roses.
This one is about the Tudors. And what do we know about the Tudors? Henry VIII. Now, don't do another 8. 8 was enough. Henry VIII. Now, Henry VIII had 6 wives, as you probably know. But what he loved, perhaps even more than his 6 wives, was his 4,265 feasts that he probably had during his reign. Did I make that up? Yes, I did. But the Tudor hierarchy, the people at the top, the king and all people like that, loved their feasts. And round about this time, there was introduced from the Middle East something called marzipan. Now, it had already been introduced to other parts of Europe. Italy, Milan in particular, is quite famous for marzipan. But what began was that at the Tudor feasts, they began to make... Yes, they Tudor food as well. Right. At the Tudor feast, they began to make little marzipan desserts. And we thought we could have a go at that. So that's what's going to happen. Marzipan desserts, after we've finished talking to you. Get a move on because you want to see what they look like. Okay, so that's the Tudor have a go. Hope you enjoy it. And we'll see you next week when we'll be with the Stuarts. So, bye.
Now, you could just go out to your local shop and buy some ready-made marzipan, all rolled out ready, but you couldn't do that in Tudor times. And we're doing this the Tudor way, so we're going to make our own marzipan. Now, to do that, you need to add 250 grams of ground almonds to a bowl, add in 125 grams of caster sugar, and 125 grams of icing sugar. Then, when the smoke has cleared, you begin to mix that together with a wooden spoon. Right, then make a little hole in the middle and add an egg yolk. In fact, add 2 egg yolks. And then mix those in. Now, the reason we're doing this is because I'm never quite sure how many egg yolks we need. We need to get a doughy consistency. So mix those in. That's not enough. So we mix in another one. And that's still not really getting a doughy consistency. So one more egg yolk. It usually is about 4 for that quantity of ground almonds and sugars. So mix that in, firstly with your spoon, and then I'm afraid it's right down and you use your hands. Eventually you will end up with a large ball of marzipan. When you've done it, take it out of the bowl, put it on your work surface, flatten it down a bit. If you want, you can roll it. You don't have to. For what we're doing, it doesn't really matter. But if you were going to put it on a cake, obviously you would roll it out. So, there we have our piece of marzipan. And I have now moved to my living room because I needed more space and to get the cameras in the right place so you could see what I'm trying to do. I have a saucer, some gloves, the marzipan, paintbrushes, and 3 bottles of food colouring. Now, the Tudors wouldn't have had this in bottles. They'd have had to go out and make the colouring themselves. I've got orange, I've got red, and I've got yellow. It might be fun for you to try and look up and see how the Tudor people might have actually got that sort of colouring. Anyway, take your marzipan and break off a small amount and roll it into a ball. Because what we're going to make here, the Tudor desserts would be craft-made little fruits, perhaps. So we make that into a ball. Now this we are going to make into an orange. So, obviously, open our orange food colouring, pour it onto the saucer, and then, most importantly of all, put on your gloves, because food colouring stains. And if you don't want to walk around town or go to school with red, yellow and orange hands for the next week or so, gloves are essential. Also the ability to hold the piece of marzipan. Now, if you look, having done the orange one, I have now made the shape of a pear. So we're going to paint this a sort of yellowy, greeny colour it will come out. There we have a pear. And finally, another round shape, and this time we're going to paint it red, and this will be an apple. Now, as you know, an apple has a little dent in the top, so you need to just push into your marzipan to make it look as though it is an apple. And to make it more realistic, I went off and got 2 cloves, and we're going to put those in the top of the apple and in the top of the pear, so they look like the stalk. And there we are. We have made some marzipan fruits. An orange, a pear and an apple. Although I must say the size of the orange and the way it looks, it doesn't look too well. But the pear and the apple, pretty realistic. You can have lots of fun yourself, making anything you like and then eating it.